Welcome on back. Rabid Rabbit Hole Sports. Week 11 was it week 11? Week 10 is in the books. Week 11 is in the books. Whatever week it was a down week for the Big 12, but a top dog week for them boys in Stillwater. You guys are tied for first. We're going to get into all that here in a second. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment on the YouTube channel. Please, it actually does help if you hit that subscribe button. It actually really does freaking help. And thanks for everyone watching and listening. Follow us on Twitter at The Bacus here, at Preston Pool 405, and at Jake Cart. Preston. The floor is yours. Jake, you'll get the floor too, but the floor is yours, Preston. Vent. Let us know what you're thinking. Let everyone else know what you're thinking. What's going on down there in Norman?
Yeah, I mean, like I said last night in the group message, not much to vent about. I mean, Lincoln Riley got outcoached by Dave Aranda yesterday in Waco. Caleb Williams looked shaky coming out in the first half. He missed a bunch of throws. I think if he makes those throws, they probably put a couple more points on the board. He missed Stockner wide open to put them inside the 15 there. I believe that was in the first or second quarter. I can't remember. But it's just one of those things that the offense wasn't rolling. The defense actually showed up for once, and then the offense decides that they want to shit the bed. And I know the defense gave up, 400 yards, but they still played better as a whole than they have really all season. The Baylor running game, with their quarterback, the option style that they chose to play yesterday, hurt the defense of the line up there. But the secondary, I thought, played well, better than what they have. But when Baylor just runs the ball, obviously that's going to look better on the secondary. So, yeah,
Baylor's passing game. I mean, that quarterback, it was almost like, how is Baylor even, but that run game, I think it was in the third quarter with I don't even know exactly how much time was left, but I think it was in the third quarter. Baylor had 256 running yards to 60 on OU, which is crazy. That's just a crazy
OU
stat.
had -1 yard rushing in the second half. So,
well, there you go. That was crazy. And it's in running games, Jake, I'll let you tap in onto this too, because running game, that's going to, if you guys struggle against that against Baylor, you're going to really struggle against Oklahoma State, because 8 rushing touchdowns by Oklahoma State Pokes up there on the night that you guys unveiled Barry Sanders' secret memorial statue that everyone saw the week leading up to it at Brob's on the back of a fucking truck and shit. What a Stillwater.
That seems to be a thing. That seems to be a thing with statues around here. The Bob Stoops statue was rolling north on 235 a year or two before they unveiled that thing.
What a way to bring that statue in. It's just so Stillwater, so Oklahoma. Jake, how was that game? You were at it, I believe, maybe. Yeah. And huge game by you guys. Dominated TCU. Not that it was you guys were really worried about that TCU squad, but I mean, to put on that type of dominant performance, huge going into the last two games of the season, I believe, for you guys. That's huge. What was the game like for you up there? What are your thoughts going into the rest of the season?
Well, I think it's, like you said, the most Oklahoma thing. It's the Barry Sanders statue was saran wrapped, and we all knew exactly what it looked like before it was unveiled. But, it is what it is. It's Barry. Everybody knows what he looks like. I mean, he's the most famous person from football, from our university ever. So it was weird, honestly, because we did a blackout, and it's kind of strange to see the entire stadium blacked out instead of the sea of orange, which was different. And then TCU, they're a decent squad, but man, did the wheels fall off. I think that first possession we came out and threw across the middle to Brendan Presley, and he fumbled. And I was like, oh man, this might be a game. And then we instantly stopped them and scored. And then the wheels just fell off TCU. I mean, the crazy part about the game is we could have hung 80, 90 on them. I mean,
what was the final score again?
63-17.
Yeah.
And honestly, the touchdowns were, our third string quarterback fumbled, and then it was a fumble 6 basically. And then we let up one other touchdown when it was basically our third string defense. They basically scored twice. It would have been, because I think it was 56-3 in the third quarter. And then we just started pulling everybody basically.
Was that,
So,
do you think that was the most complete game by Oklahoma State? And again, I know that it was TCU, their wheels kind of fell off. They don't have Gary Patterson. He's out. So it's kind of like not the same TCU you would be expecting this time of the year. Do you think that was the most complete game by you guys?
yeah, I mean, absolutely. Against TCU, you know, like I would say we might have played a little bit better against Kansas, but it's Kansas. Like they're absolutely terrible.
Speaking of fucking Kansas, yeah. I mean, you just cannot lose to the Jayhawks when they wear a fucking toucan on their helmet. And they did. On the road, Kansas went down to Austin, clapped them cheeks of the – actually, not – I shouldn't even say clap them cheeks. I feel like Texas ended up –
I don't know. They were up, 21 at halftime, though, weren't they?
Yeah, and then Texas kind of came back, but, like, it's still Kansas. Like, you shouldn't be losing them no matter what point of the game. You shouldn't be –
at home,
OU, yeah, OU got away with it by going unscathed and going out of Lincoln, Kansas, or whatever the fuck they are.
Yeah,
coming out with a W. But Texas did not.
They scored 21 points with 2 minutes on the clock left before halftime. They scored a touchdown, got a fumble, scored a touchdown, got a pick six.
This is the saddest year for Texas. I think this is like the worst year Texas can have.
I think I saw
and losing to Kansas.
Yeah, like Jake was saying, they might not make a bowl game, and this is the first time they've lost to Kansas at home since like ever 1955 or something. No, like
I think it's. I saw that. I think it's ever. I don't think they've ever lost to Kansas at home.
It might be the first time they lost 5 in a row since the 50s. But yeah, gotcha. I mean. It couldn't get much better for people who absolutely hate Texas.
And honestly, that was kind of a weekend saving moment for the boys down in Norman because
100%.
You guys took an L, and Texas before the Kansas Texas game kicked off was, chirping a little bit. I saw it on Twitter. They're just sitting there like, "Oh, you guys lost." And then they turn around and lose to Kansas. That's like one little bit of that. If you had like 50 pounds on your back, you now only have like 35 or 40, Kansas, you can't lose to Kansas, but I called it I think it was 2 weeks ago. I said, is Kansas like a team that you can respect now? Are they a respectable team? I think you can. I know they only got 2 wins on the season. I think you can kind of respect them and be like, they have something where I feel like they're going to be like a Kansas State here in a year or two, where they're going to be able to beat these big teams. You guys shake your head every fucking time.
Dude, it's going to happen. Kansas.
It's going to happen.
I'm telling you,
they're respectable
right now. I'm terrible.
I'm putting my stake in the ground. Kansas, I'm not going to say that they're going to win against big teams every year. I'm not going to say they're going to win 4 or 5 Big 12 games every year. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that they can go in there and you could be like, hey, they might beat you. They almost beat OU. If they would have beat OU and Texas this year, that would have been the greatest season in Kansas football history. So you got to respect them a little bit. But I almost called, I actually almost called, or I did kind of call it, but I said OU. I took OU -5.5. Didn't hit that, obviously. I think I'm the only one that probably took OU like in the country. I wanted OU to win as a non-Sooner fan. I wanted them to win, and they didn't. I thought it was going to be a big game for OU. That was a spot where you guys should have came out and performed the way Ohio State did against Purdue. They had a big game. Ohio State fucking clobbered Purdue. I think it ended up being like, I actually don't even know the final score. Last night, I turned away from it because I think Ole Miss and Texas A&M started getting good again, so I had to switch the channel. They were up. Ohio State they found their groove. The offensive has found their groove. The defense has found their groove. And I think Oklahoma State did what I thought OU should have and had that big game, that statement game they needed to. Bedlam's looking like a big matchup right now. I really think you guys are both going to go in there with 1 loss, and whoever comes out of that, probably going to the Big 12 championship, I think, and then Baylor will be in it, right?
No, I think well, right now, OU and OSU are still, I think if OU beats OSU, then it would be OU-OSU, right? And I think vice versa. Is that correct?
Yeah. So
as long as both went out until Bedlam, I'm pretty sure, since Baylor has 2 losses?
Yes.
Or is it 3 losses in the Big 12? I can't remember.
No, 2. Okay. So they lost to TCU and us, obviously. Okay. So the thing is that's kind of the only thing of yesterday where I was like, well, if OU beats Baylor, it's almost a done deal, to where if we beat Texas Tech, it's over. Then we're automatically in. So now you get in kind of muddy waters of Baylor has 2 losses. Iowa State with the loss, they're basically dead now because they have 3 losses in conference. So if OSU wins Texas Tech, and then if you guys win, then we could only have it could be a 3-way, or it'd be a 2-way tie, whichever way it goes. So basically, because we cancel each other out, somebody has to win Bedlam. So whoever is the loser would have 2.
Yeah, and I think it would go to the highest ranked team, like out of the 2. Is that correct? I don't know. The Big 12, whenever they did this whole everyone plays everyone and the top 2 teams, they put so many like clauses in there of how it can all shake out to get that second spot.
And part of the issue yesterday, and fuck Lincoln Riley. What a soft bitch he is. Honestly, Lincoln Riley is the softest coach in America right now. He is the softest coach. He's not that good. OU fans, Preston, I'm going to give you a little bit of due diligence to some respect. I don't know if you are as high on him as everyone else has been. I think you do respect Lincoln Riley. He is not that good. He is not that good of a coach. He shouldn't be held to the, he shouldn't be in most people's eyes and probably the mainstream media. He's probably a top 5 coach. I don't think he's a top 10. I don't think he's a top 10. He's a little bitch because you cannot fucking complain about them going for a field goal when it's part of the spread, the score differential or whatever. And also, he would do the same fucking shit if he had to send his boys back out there and to potentially kick a field goal. And he knew like, oh, we kind of need a little bit of extra, just those 3 extra points for that spread differential. He'd do the same fucking thing. So for him to complain about that was insane. He's the softest coach in America. That's all I have to say on him. What do you think about that whole situation?
And I don't really care about it. It doesn't bother me either way. You can bitch about it if you want. Don't bitch about it. It doesn't bother me. I'm not the one out there making the calls. But to say that Lincoln Riley's not a top 5 coach, I mean, what the only difference between him and Ryan Day at the moment is that Ryan Day has a playoff win, and Lincoln Riley has two Heisman winners as well, though.
Heisman, Schmeisman. I mean, like you can only have one of them. You can win a playoff game.
Well, you can win a playoff game. Agreed. But that right now is the only difference. They both made it to the playoffs. I don't know how many times Ryan Day's made it. Lincoln's made it 4 times.
Yeah, I think Ryan Day's in there 3 or 4.
So, I mean, the only difference between them is that playoff win right there. But neither have a national championship. I still think he's a top 5 coach.
I will say that they are similar in the aspects of they both inherited a kingdom. That Ryan Day took over for Urban and Lincoln took over for Bob. So they have similarities in their storylines in that aspect. I will say that, I understand what Lincoln originally was saying of that it should have been a 15-yard penalty for rushing the field with time on the clock. I get that aspect. But honestly, I would have agreed if I was the ref, I would have let it happen because I think to the rules, you don't have to have a minimum amount of people on the field. And, he was saying it was a safety precaution that to get everybody off and, people were storming everything. And if I was the ref, I'd have just let it happen and be like, all right, you don't have to put anybody out there. And then Baylor would have just ran and scored a touchdown.
You guys don't know how bad.
So much.
No, you guys don't know how bad I wanted just Brian Meade to go out there, the one linebacker that was standing next to Lincoln Riley, just to be the only defender out there on that play. That summed up the whole fucking weekend for OU. Just put one player out there. Who gives a shit?
That would have been a hilarious visual. If you think of like hilarious like screenshots of like line formations or whatever, like I think of back when Michigan did that like 7 deep line or whatever it was. Remember that was a hilarious visual. It's like, what are you doing? One person on the defense would have been an absolutely. I actually would have given Lincoln Riley props for that because that would have been hilarious.
And I don't know if you guys follow that Twitter account on Twitter, like CFP, like screenshots or memes or something like that, where they just basically tweet screenshots from games. That would have been the most epic tweet right there. Just the whole
100%.
Baylor offense or field goal unit, whoever they sent out there, and just one Oklahoma linebacker.
100%. And I do understand Lincoln's point of the safety thing and whatnot. And yeah, like that's a whole thing besides the point. But I'm just talking strictly play on the field. You play to win the game. The whole point of football is to score points, score as many points, and let the other team score as little as possible. I think that it's Lincoln Riley is being disrespectful to the game by saying that they shouldn't have went for the field goal, because that's the whole point of the game, is to put as many fucking points on that board.
Yeah, I disagree. I disagree with not you, but with Lincoln. Because he said if it was in his shoes, he wouldn't have done it. But I think if Lincoln was in Baylor's situation where they need, because I believe that's what Dave Miranda said is the tiebreaker. Is goal differential. So, I think if Lincoln was in his shoes, he might have done it too. So
I would put my fucking life savings on it. Lincoln Riley would have done the same thing. That's why I say he's soft, is because like he's not being honest. He's not being truthful in the fact that he would have done the same exact thing. What he should have done is I 100% get the safety of the players thing, the rush in the fields. I 100% get that. But what he should have said about the actual series of events gameplay wise is, I respect them for doing that. They beat us. If you don't want that to happen, win the game. That's the only way to make sure it doesn't happen. I think he should have I would have had a lot more respect for Lincoln if he would have been like, respect. He fucking played. He coached the game.
Yeah, he's never going to do that. He's the biggest coach speak guy in the country when it comes to stuff like that. He's going to basically say what is nothing that's going to, be able to be put out there to be used as a headline, which this obviously Baylor fans and other people took this and ran with it just because it was kind of a stupid thing to say. He should have just blown the question off and had no answer for it, and it would have been just fine. But he's a big coach guy.
If he would have just said, like, I understand why he did it, and then moved on to the next question, right there, I would have respected him way much more. But for him to say that he wouldn't have done the same thing, that's bullshit. He put fucking 76 on a team one year, or whatever it was. It was like 76-0 on a fucking FCS school. Or I seen the screenshot. I can't remember the team they were playing. He would 100% done. He has done the same thing. He's fucking put numbers on fucking people, because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to just put as many points on the board as possible. But let's move on from Boomer Sooner talk, because I think you're down bad. You got something else?
You think the SEC is grabbing the receipts real quick, try to run to the counter and get a return?
I mean, I think the SEC is fine taking them, but I think Vandy
SEC is all about
Texas, though.
For sure. And the thing is with Texas is any coach that walks in there is going to be screwed, because you have to deal with all the boosters. You have to deal with all the crazy fans down in Austin. So you really walk into a situation, no matter what the roster looks like, that you're going to have to just start from shit, basically. And you have to deal with so much shit.
You go in there with your feet cut out from under you.
It has to be the most wanted / unwanted job in the country, just because of all the extra bullshit you have to deal with being at Texas.
100%.
Yeah, I will not take this slander. They have a top 5 recruiting class every year. There's no excuse. Exactly. I understand they deal with a lot of bullshit, but to say from a talent perspective, like it's like what happened to us in basketball the other day. Literally, the opposing coach was like, "We're lucky this is not a track meet, because if it was a track meet, he's like, I think we'd finish third." Like, on a talent perspective, like, Texas is top 5, like Kansas. Okay, the dude who won the game never played a snap for Kansas. Never.
Yeah, he was a walk-on.
That's his first. Yeah, that's the first.
I saw that.
You should. To how he got that open in the end zone, like, it's unbelievable. It's unfathomable. I mean, Vanderbilt is calling for them. Like, they're trying to schedule them as fast as they can.
Yeah, I think teams like
Texas,
Vanderbilt and Arkansas are teams that are excited for Texas to come to the SEC. They're going to have someone else to be at the bottom with them, more friends down there. I think I've said it from the jump. I do think OU will be the more successful out of the two in the SEC. I don't know if they'll have a dominant stretch like Bama has or like Georgia has when they join. I think they'll be more like the LSU where they have this one up year, 2 up years, and then a couple down years and a couple up years. That's more likely, I think. Well, I think it's the most likely that Texas has 4-win seasons consistently in the SEC. I think another one is I think a fucking private jet's going to be heading back down to Baton Rouge from Norman. I think he's going to take that fucking. I think he's going to take that meeting again. He's going to be like, hey, actually, I know we faked that plane jet ride down there the last week, but can we have a legit one this week?
At this point, LSU fans are probably like, screw that, keep him in Norman.
Yeah,
after the,
honestly, you know what? You're right. They're probably like, wait a second. They're probably like, wait a second. He is who we thought he was. Not that good. But let's move on.
It's always funny to me, though, when it comes real quick. I'll make this story. It's always funny to me when it comes to Lincoln Riley and everyone shits on him. But the minute their vacancy opens up at their school, they're like, all right, Lincoln Riley has to be the first one on the board. It is
funny. It is funny. I'm going through some of the big games from yesterday. Another crazy team that's played out unexpected is Florida. I mean, they let up 52 points against Samford, an FCS school. That's crazy.
Well, they had Samford had 42 at half, and Samford's highest total points this year was 40 in a whole entire game. They had 42 at half versus Florida. And did Florida end up winning that game?
Right?
Yeah, 70.
They ended up winning.
Yeah, 70 to like
52. 70 to 52.
50. Yeah.
I mean, you can say Dan Mullen's out, but the thing is, he's fired his defensive coordinator or offensive coordinator. I can't remember which one he fired. I mean, surely they're going to give him a chance to hire a new one and see how that works out. But I've never thought Dan Mullen was that good of a head coach to begin with. I mean, he did good stuff at Mississippi State, but I mean, that was with Dak Prescott. So
yeah, that was like with a special year for them. Or stretch of years.
He's one of those guys. He's one of those guys that he's he's kind of like Kingsbury. Not a great head coach, but really good offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach, that type of guy. Dan Mullen is perfect for that. But when he's king of the empire, it doesn't turn to be good. And by the way, Samford was like 36-point dogs going into that game.
Yeah, I saw that.
I saw that at halftime, and I was like, my ESPN app is broke. I was like, great. And then I was like, nope, that's a real score.
Yeah, and if you thought Lincoln Riley made excuses, Dan Mullen is the king of excuses down there in Florida. That dude has an excuse for everything that gets thrown at him in a press conference.
He actually really does. I'm trying to see some other games. Notre Dame beat
the Mississippi State,
Ole Miss. I actually had Ole Miss plus 2.5. Ole Miss covered that. They obviously won the game. You know, I'd never seen this before. Game day was at Ole Miss. It was the Ole Miss A&M game. Their special guest on ESPN College Game Day doing the guest picks was Lane Kiffin. I've never seen. I was
talking about that with the buddy. Yeah, I had never seen that either. I have
never seen the coach of one of the game day teams that is being showcased be the special guest. Because then when they got to the A&M Ole Miss pick, he's like, Ole Miss, go Rebs. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you want him to say?
Katy Perry must have not been available yesterday for
They could have gotten fucking – well, I guess not. They probably would have done it. But they should have got Barstool Ben Mintz from Barstool to go on there. That would have been hilarious. I bet you if they would have been like, let's come on, you would have been like, all right. Barstool Mintz, he's hilarious. I love him.
100%. 100% agree, though. That's disgusting. Never have that happen again. Never have the coach
you can't have the coach.
Game.
No,
I mean, for Christ's sake, Herb Street doesn't even pick the game he calls, and you're going to have the head coach of a football team come on and pick his school. I mean,
100%. It's crazy. The Big Ten and the Big 12 are actually in a similar spot. I think Big Ten is stronger than the Big 12, but they're in a similar spot in the sense that the conference champ is probably going to have a 1-loss record, and it's going to be between the two powerhouses. I don't want to say Oklahoma State is a powerhouse, but you kind of are this year. You guys are dominating, but it's shaping up to be Ohio State, Michigan for the Big Ten championship, or not the Big Ten championship. Whoever wins the game is going to go to the Big Ten championship and probably win it, is in my opinion. I think it's going to be either Michigan or Ohio State. Ohio State's probably going to win it. They've won 19 of the last 20 or 20 of the last 21. I believe it's up in the big house. But Michigan ended up winning against Penn State 21-17. They didn't win handily, but I feel like their defense kind of did a lot more than people have expected. Their defense is actually pretty good. If I had one thing that I'd be worried about, it is their defense. I'm not worried about their offense other than our defense. But our defense pretty much showed up and got the kinks worked out this past week. I know it's Purdue, but it's the same thing. Baylor shouldn't have never been number 13. They should have dropped way more than they did last week in the poll. I'm interested to see how much they jump up and how much OU falls. Preston, what do you think? Do you think OU is going to fall out of the top 10, 15?
I said 15 to 20, somewhere in there, just because of where the committee had them ranked. But Jake, you might agree with me on this. This might be a little bit of a hot take. The committee must be in bed or something with the Big Ten, because they ranked Purdue, last week that high, when we all know that they shouldn't have ranked Purdue, and they leave Iowa State unranked. And then they, all those things, they rank a couple more Big Ten teams. I think there's some collusion going on with the committee and the Big Ten.
No, there's no collusion. They're just better. We're just better in the North.
I mean, especially when you see like the Michigan ahead of Michigan State is weird. Like, I kind of get it. Like, I think Michigan's better than Michigan State too, but that's just a weird thing where every other person on the board is, head to head is different. So it's just, that's weird. But I don't know about this year. I know that in previous years that most of the board was Big Ten members. Like, a lot of them were Big Ten alums back in the day. And, I think it gives them a little bit of juice.
I feel like they have a pretty even, even keel across the board. I think it's a pretty even selection. It's usually like Oregon and UCLA is up in there, Georgia, Bama, LSU, Florida, ADs. I think Texas was on the board as well. Baylor at one point. So I think Joe
Castiglione was on it last year as well. But my thing is, like, if you're going to rank Purdue, rank Iowa State as well. Those are both. I think Iowa State is a step up from Purdue when it comes to talent and whatnot. And obviously both lost this week. So in the end, it doesn't really matter. They're both going to be unranked no matter what. Yeah. But I think if you're going to have Purdue ranked up there and a Wisconsin ranked in the top, 20, I thought Wisconsin were they 20?
Oh, let's see.
I can't remember. Either way, Purdue and Wisconsin were right next to each other.
Yeah, they're 18.
And I think you should have at least an Iowa State in there in the top 20, because to me they are a top 25 team when it comes to.
I don't disagree.
Not anymore, but they were. I would say last week.
I don't disagree with the fact that Iowa State should have been ranked. What's going to be interesting to see is when they do move up Baylor, and Oklahoma State is going to get moved up probably as well. I wonder where they're going to rank that, because you obviously have the head-to-head matchup, but Baylor just beat a top 10 team. And so it's going to be, and we've seen it. They don't really care about it. If they put them next to each other, they might put Baylor over Oklahoma State, Jake, because they did it to Michigan State.
No, the thing to think about is they beat an Oklahoma team that the committee did not value at all. So they're not the fact that they beat that OU team that the committee didn't value. They're not going to put that really as, it's a top 10 win in theory, but when the committee's going to look at it, they're going to be like, oh, they beat Oklahoma. Oklahoma's been struggling all year. Like, that's not really that big of a win at home if you think about it.
I agree.
I mean, to be honest, it's the NCAA. I wouldn't be surprised if we drop points, if we move down the board. We win by 50, and the disrespect for Oklahoma State runs deep. It's in our roots, so I get it. We're probably, dude, if we don't move, like, it's going to be disrespectful if we don't move, like, at all. If we are still 10 come Tuesday or whatever, like, that's going to be insane. Yeah, we should have at least be 9.
I think you guys are going to be number 8. I think Oklahoma State's going to come in at number 8, and Baylor will probably be number 9, and then the rest I'm not sure. Let's recap our picks from the weekend real quick. If you're watching, we are not doing the picks leading into the weekend. We are recording at a different schedule, and we will be releasing our picks on Twitter Spaces Tuesday night during the college football playoff ranking show. Potentially, we'll have that all peeled out before we get there. So if you're watching before just keep an eye out on Twitter at the biggest here, at PrestonPool405, and at Jake Cart. Just keep an eye out on our Twitters. But yeah, let's get into our picks from the weekend. I went 2-1 with that Ole Miss plus 2.5 and that Michigan. It was basically a pick'em game. There was no spread at the time of me picking it. And my one loss was OU minus 5.5, which Preston, again, I truly did think they were going to have a breakout game similar to Ohio State and Oklahoma State against TCU. I did actually think they were going to have a breakout game, but I'm glad they lost. So I went 2-1. I believe my overall record is, let me check real quick. I'm sitting at 24-16. So pretty good on the year, record wise, doing pretty good. I'm surprised I haven't had a push yet. We've only had one push, I believe. That was Jake 2 weeks ago. Jake, give us your rate, your picks from the weekend, your record from the weekend, and overall and whatnot.
Well, it's wild because our picks are similar, but just flip flop.
Yeah.
And I went 2-1, and the only game I lost was at the A&M. I had A&M -2, but I had Baylor plus 5.5 that hit, and then I had Pittsburgh that at 6.5, and they won by 7 in overtime or something like that. That was a crazy, wild thing. But that brings my overall record to 13, 21, and 1.
Ooh, all right. Still down there.
Yeah.
Inching closer to me though every week. I went 1-2 this week. The only game I hit was the Cincy versus South Florida over at 58. I had the OU Baylor over at 63. Turns out both teams wanted to play a little bit of defense yesterday. And then Bama, I mean, come on, give me an extra touchdown or two, man. You're playing New Mexico State. Bama, I had the over in that at 67. Bama scored 59 and only allowed a field goal.
They were at one point losing 3-0.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, someone get a picture of that because you're probably not going to see it. And then the next highlight they showed, it was 14-3. So
that's hilarious. Well, you guys are going to, it seems like, because we're coming up on the end of the season, it seems like you two are going to be competing for who will be.
Yeah, I'm 16-19, by the way. That's my record.
16-19. And Jake, you're at 13, 21, and 1.
Yeah.
So these next 2 weeks are pretty big. Jake, if you want to crawl out of that hole, you might have to be making 4 or 5 picks because we do a 5-pick limit on this show. We do a 3-pick minimum. So you might be making 4 or 5 picks the next 2 weeks to crawl back. But you guys are going to be competing for this little, these little things right here. Boom. Let's see if it picks up. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Harry Potter. No, it's backwards, but some jelly beans. You guys are going to be doing that. We'll have to set up a time for us to get together and do a little video. We'll do a live stream.
The good news is somehow, some way, if me and Preston tie, we'll say it for right now. If we somehow draw at the end of the season, we'll just, whoever won Bedlam will be the tiebreaker.
Hey, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. If you guys end up tied record wise, then Bedlam will, between you two, will be the deciding factor, which actually is, it fits perfectly because then it's like kicking someone while they're down. It's like, you lost and now you got to eat some nasty jelly beans. That does suck, but hey, that's the name of the game. Yeah, that's about it. It's a quick episode this week. We're not talking NFL because we are recording here on Sunday, and they'll probably be out here Sunday night or Monday. Chargers, I don't know what time they play. 3:00, right?
3. Yeah.
3:00. I got some bets going. I'll have to go check and see how they're doing here in a minute. Thanks for watching, people. If you guys got anything left to say, please let's hear it. Jake, Preston, nothing.
Nope.
That's it.
Interested to see the records. We'll see where we're ranked.
Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. If you're watching this before Tuesday night, be sure to tune in on Twitter Spaces with Preston, myself, and Jake for the live reaction to the playoff rankings. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, follow us on Twitter at the Bake is here, at PrestonPool405, at Jake Cart. Peace.